This Gordana Schifanelli. She is originally from Belgrade in the former Yugoslavia. Jordana's pathway to education advocacy has been undoubtedly unique. Gordana earned her bachelor's and master's of science in economics and finance from the University of Belgrade, and after working several years as a registered financial advisor and portfolio manager with Merrill Lynch and the Royal Bank of Canada, she opted to pursue her Juris Doctorate from Maryland's University of Baltimore School of Law. Since then, Gordana has led a successful career as an attorney, adjunct professor of economics and law at the U.S. Naval Academy, and as a registered financial advisor and portfolio manager. In 2020, Gordana caught the political bug and led successful campaigns to win the majority of the Queen Anne's County Board of Education. Building on this success, Gordana continues to fight for parents as she traverses the state as a running mate for Governor candidate Dan Cox.
For those who do not know me yet, I came to the United States of America in 1999 after a treacherous journey, an escape from NATO bombing and genocide that continued on for about 10 years from 1990 through 2000 in Yugoslavia. That was a country that doesn't exist any longer. It consisted of 6 states, and I grew up in that country. It was a socialist, communist country, and thankfully my husband served as a Green Beret, United States Army Green Beret. We met overseas, we met in Belgrade, and he was brave enough to stay and to wait until I safely go through this treacherous journey out of my country, through the NATO bombing, and he waited for me, saved me, and brought me to America. And ever since day one, as I stepped my foot on American soil, I realized that this is the land of dreams. And I also realized that that dream is going to be shattered unless we all stand up against socialist, communist agenda that is creeping into our Maryland and our country. I was educated in the top university in Europe, one of the top universities in Europe, and I went through the European system of education. And when I came to America, I am a mother of 3 boys. One is serving in the United States Army, and the other one is getting ready to either join the Air Force or the Naval Academy. And the third one is 12 years old in 7th grade middle school. But I saw the very fast decline from child number 1, born in 2002, to child number 8, born in 2008. It was a day and night education decline that I saw my 3 children, who were all in public school in Queen Anne's County at one point in time. So what happened that it took me 22 years to wake up and stand before you today to try as best as I can to stop Marxist indoctrination of our children. In 2020, we had COVID, and all schools in Maryland were shut down, including my child's school. But on June the 5th, my superintendent in Queen Anne's County, then superintendent, sent a letter to parents inviting the children and the parents to join her in recognizing that Black Lives Matter organization needs to be supported, that Black Lives Matter organization needs to be promoted, and that the children should be marching with her and Black Lives Matter organization in protest against the police. While the schools are closed, we have a superintendent inviting children to march with BLM organization against the police. Now, I am a researcher by profession, so the first thing I did was look at Black Lives Matter organizational charter that was available to everyone on internet. And I saw that one of the goals and mission of that organization is to destroy family unit and to destroy the patriarchal family as it is today. To me, it sounded like I was like years back in Yugoslavia, and I am going through again, it was almost like a PTSD. I am seeing things that are repugnant to the American constitutional values. So what did I do? I first emailed her, and I said, this is not even legal. I did look up Maryland law, and Maryland law does not allow public employees to promote personal partisanship politics during business hours while they're performing their job. So I cited the code, I called my Board of Education at the time, and no one was brave to voice any opinion about it. To the contrary, they told me to be quiet, and that she, the superintendent, has her First Amendment to do whatever she wants. So I tried to disagree, and that didn't work out. So what I did was I made a statement on public social media that why would anybody protest against the police? And I was attacked immediately. There was a group of political activists that started targeting me at my work. They started sending letters to be fired. They started sending letters to Bar Association to be disbarred. They started sending letters to Maryland Attorney Grievance Commission to get me disbarred and sanctioned because I said, why would a superintendent call children, and my son was 11, to march with BLM organization against the police at the same time while church in Lafayette Square in Washington, D.C. was burning, businesses were being destroyed. We had protests all over the country, in Washington State, we had Chaz, that was the same time. It was exactly the same period of time. And the attack on my person and the attack on me continued on. What did I do? I didn't get scared. I decided that I'm going to find candidates and that we are going to address this issue with the Board of Education, and that we were going to replace ineffective Board of Education with two people who were brave enough to put their names forth, but not even on the ballot. They were not on the ballot. People were already voting. If you remember a year ago, June, people were already voting. Early voting, absentee votes. So my candidates, my volunteers, were nowhere to be found. So we decided to stand and work day in and day out during the early voting in Maryland, and to talk to every single voter, begging and pleading, please select these people so that we can fix our school system. We won with writing candidates, combined earning or making, people were writing their names with the pen, over 12,000 times. We were not Loudoun County. We were a simple little county a year ago in Maryland that won something for our children. And the first line of duty after our candidates got sworn in was to open a new job for a new superintendent. And we need a new superintendent. And what happened since then, we reopened schools right away. The children were without masks in June, July, and August. This year, we have about a year of results of how life can be when parents just do one brave thing. Get together, start fighting for the children, and then it's amazing what children can do and how well they can thrive once the schools are reopened, sports are in. As a matter of fact, our county became the first county in the state of Maryland where public schools do have clay target shooting team for the first time ever. So trying to give you the history road, like the path, how it went from a year ago till today, and where are we today? What are we dealing with? We are consistently reminded that critical race theory is not an easy defining term. Critical race theory does not necessarily always deal with race. Critical race theory is a socialist, Marxist term that is used to divide people and children based on their immutable characteristics. Some are Hispanics, some are black, and some have this different types of gender, and the exploration of division of children based on their gender preferences is simply used as a tool to divide. It does not provide education. It doesn't foster any kind of social awareness. To the contrary, children, as well as adults, cannot solve the problem of their skin color. And they shouldn't be divided based on their skin color, especially because anybody that has children knows that children are little problem solvers. If you give them something that cannot be solved, what will happen to them? If you face a child with an unsolvable problem, what will that child do? It'll throw a fit, right? It's going to throw a fit. I can't do it. What can the children like to solve problems, right? We adults like to solve problems, but those are the problem. Mutable characteristics cannot be solved easily. I am going to show you a current proposed training for teachers, where the issue of race is not brought forth. This is a program that had to be implemented according to the Maryland Curwen's law, and every single teacher in public school has to be exposed to a particular training. One of the relevant things is, if you can flip forward, is an identifier between an individual and collectivism. Individualism and collectivism. So this is, if you can scroll through to come to, this is all for teachers. My culture and receptivity. What is culture? This is something that the teachers are supposed to be trained on. Now, let me give you a backstory. Why is this important? Our Board of Education excluded 2 books that were offered for students to read as their secondary novels, and it became a massive argumentation during the board meeting. One of the books had a protagonist. It's a book that depicts America as a racist, hateful country, because the 7-year-old boy is of Hispanic origin, and he's scared to go to school and to go home because he's scared that his father is going to be deported. And he doesn't know whether his father is legal or illegal, but he's scared. So this child in this book portrays America as this evil place where little children, 7th graders, this was for the 7th grader reading list, that the 7th grader will be going to school and home in fear that his parent is going to be deported. Now, mind you, in my county, in the northern part of Queen Anne's County, we have about 50% Hispanic population. So our newly elected board decided not to approve the book. It became a controversial issue. Some board members, old board members that were up for election this time, they were not going to be running, are going to say that this is something that the children need to be aware of, these social issues. And another board member was saying, excuse me, teachers, immigration is a highly, highly legal issue. And teachers are not trained immigration attorneys to explain to the children who is here legally, who is here illegally, what are the rules of deportation proceedings between the immigration judge. These are the things that should not be exposed to children in a manner where all they're trying to say is that we are a racist country, we're throwing people out of the United States because they're here illegally or illegally. The children don't understand it, and they're walking back and forth in fear. That was one book. Another book pertaining to this culture, multiculturalism that everyone is being trained on, the teachers are trained on, is talking about a woman who received a scholarship from Nigeria. She receives a scholarship, and the book title is called Americana. It's a New York Times bestseller.
An Americana, this woman receives a scholarship from Nigeria to go to Princeton University. That's Ivy League school. Her expenses are paid and tuition is free, and she's coming from Nigeria to the United States to study. In her book, she expresses her dissatisfaction about Americans and about where she has been welcomed. And to me, it is personally offensive because I know who American people are. I started my practice the day when I stepped my foot, and every single one American had welcomed me with the hugest heart that I've ever seen. So when I read something like that, it's insulting to me. I'm an immigrant, and I'm living American dream. We're talking about another immigrant given a scholarship. I wasn't getting any scholarship. She was getting a scholarship to go to Princeton University, Ivy League school, and whoever knows how hard it is to get there understands it's a privilege to go to Princeton University. So she goes there and then talks about how we are so racist because she was denied a job. Now, mind you, I am an immigration attorney. I just so happen to be one. And when you come to America as a student from a foreign country, you do not have a work permit, you're not allowed to work. You're here as a student. So she's upset in her book that now our children are supposed to read. We're such a racist country that she can't get a job. And the gift she receives from white people shows their white superiority because they are giving her a gift. Now that book has been removed from the list. Our kids in my county are not reading that book, but I will give you the example of how disgusting and insulting this training, these books, and this is, New York Times bestseller for kids to read, 7th grade through high school. The book is called Americana. Please read it and tell me what you think. Now that's the level of culture, and that's what they're talking about. They're training teachers to identify these cultures. Let's move on to the next slide where we are going to talk about individualism and collectivism and why is that important. We can go forward. I think there's a lot of slides, so you can go. Cultural proficiency. This again talks about cultural destructiveness, cultural incapacity, cultural blindness. So if you don't treat someone, like if you treat me differently, then you're what culturally. Please don't treat me differently. Treat me just like you treat anybody else. We'll be good to go. Let's move on. Through cultural linguistic responsiveness does not require comprehensive knowledge of all cultural differences. Please move on. We are going to a chart that shows about multicultural education, social justice education, and culturally responsive pedagogy. When children are isolated because of their cultural uniqueness or skin color, they feel different. They're separated from the crowd, from the group, and they do not thrive as if you just leave them alone, teach them math, reading, arithmetic, science, and let them make friends the way you guys all made friends when you were in school. Let's go to the next slide, if we can possibly go, because I would not like to take everybody's time. It's a comprehensive slide. The next one. It needs to go to the more. It's a lot of. If we have a way of moving through this. Collectivism, individualism, world map. So this is something that they begin. Let's move on. They're talking. Okay, so look at this pink. Look at this pink, light pink. It's socialism. These are the countries that had 100 years of socialist experience since 1918 October Revolution until today. They have been planning on taking over the dark brown and the Australia. You see that?
Wow.
Those are the places where you have the highest number of COVID. Those are the places where businesses are not essential or essential, and those are the places that need to be wearing masks. And the rest of the world is doing whatever they want. Like they had, keep on going. We can go through. Now, This is how they're teaching teachers to understand that individualism versus collectivism. And what they're trying to tell you is that group is more important than one person, and that is the bottom line of the socialist Marxist theory. There's another slide that goes interdependent growth, collectivism, rational, contextual, child as a member of community versus analytical, procedural, child as an individual. The idea in current Maryland system of education is that child should be viewed not as a unique individual person, but as a member of a community. Child is a member of community. That's the socialist system. I grew up, we all had to wear the same clothes. We were all the same. You couldn't just differentiate one from another. We all had to wear, white shirt, blue skirts. We were all the same. And the funny thing is, when I realized that I'm much different, I became an outcast. I would say, well, why can't I have something else? Why can't I have a red shoes as opposed to dark brown or black shoes? Why can't I have this color versus something else? Just being a regular teenage kid. That's what kids do. But this is what they're teaching children today, that community rights are more important than the individual rights. So if you keep on going, rethink the classroom, jobs, train the trainer, choose a partner, it's prioritize collectivism and collective strategy. And it can keep on going. You can keep on going in this revisiting outcomes. So when we're talking about equitable outcome, I have to tell you the word equity is a term of art. It does exist in common law. And the equity means what's just and fair. Years ago, when my middle son started kindergarten, first grade, elementary school, they changed the grading system from 1 through 4 to 1 to 3, and then there's like a descriptive something that meant so, it was so ridiculous that I never read his report card in the entire elementary school because I seriously couldn't understand. And my little kid would come and say, all you have to do is get number 2, you're good. Nobody can get 3, and you can't get 1, and if you get 2, then you're good to go. And I was like, okay, honey, and I would trash that. And then he would say, you can't trash my report card, you have to sign the report card and you have to return the report card. And I said, it's trash. It's trash. It goes in the trash. So the report card ended up in trash every single time, and teachers never asked for the report card to be signed, returned, because they would never get it. It's trash. So that trash started, and I'm gonna say, what, 2016, 17-ish, something like that, and probably before that, but that was like visible trash. And then now he's what? So now Philip is in high school senior, so go back 7th grade. He came home with an assignment. And the assignment said, which Confederate monument would you tear down, explain why, and you are not allowed to say none and give your answers. That was an essay. Another essay he came home in an 8th grade was this. Explain why group rights are more important than individual rights. Individual rights are the most important rights that exist in our country as founded by our framers in the Constitution. The system that is being imposed on us, parents, educators, everyone, is a systemic change. That's why they're using the word systemic racism. There is a systemic change from a system that we have, which is founded on our Constitution, to a different system of social collective right. This is the communism and socialism is not coming to America as a revolution. It's coming as evolution. They're evolving, slowly moving the concepts through children starting their kindergarten, middle school, and so forth. Slowly, parents don't know what they're talking about. Teachers know more than parents.
Right.
Superintendents know better than the Board of Education, and everything keeps going upside down. Before I finish, I wanted to give attention to a very, very serious and dangerous, in my mind, element of criminality, which is child pornography. Child pornography started finding way to schools where sexually explicit material has been introduced to students as early as kindergarten in different schools. This particular book comes from Wild Lake High School. This is right here in this county, their library. The school depicts cartoon pictures of explicit sexual material, oral sex on little children. Now the question again is, why? Why? Why are they doing this? Why would anybody want to use children to, kindergarten? This is a dangerous material to our children. Needless to say, it violates prurient interest of the community. It does promote commercial publication and pornographic material to be forced onto children. And unfortunately, in countries that are in the pink color, lighter pink color, that they're socialist in nature, unfortunately, some children do become sex slaves, sex trade. There is a massive pornography industry, as an industry working in those countries, unfortunately. And again, I don't know if I'm going to shock you, but in some of these countries, for example, in the country where I'm coming from, in its southern part, there is a big business of taking children and using their organs for sale. Kidneys, liver, and so forth. There's a big business that is also coinciding with the massive drug trafficking. It's a big drug trafficking route coming all the way from Colombia down through the Mediterranean, finding its way to Kosovo and Serbia, where I'm from. So I'm not speaking to you to scare you. I'm speaking to you to raise awareness that we are in a very dangerous and uncharted waters. Our children's lives and well-beings are at stake. I am doing everything I can based on my experience and education to educate people. And I am running as Lieutenant Governor for the state of Maryland with the mission to fix this problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are hanging on a rope. The rope is very thin. I would be lying to say anything otherwise. I implore you to go to CoxForFreedom.com. Please help us win this battle. It's going to be brutal. They're going to tell you that I am lying, that I'm not credible. They're going to slander me as what I was called white supremacist and racist before, so I'm sure that's going to continue on. But this is not a joke. I do blame Hogan administration for this. I am not politically correct. I will never be politically correct when our children are as captains. I don't care anymore who votes for who. This is our children's sake. This is our future, your grandchildren, and generations to come. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your attention. And